You got into the safety business because you wanted to protect people, but somewhere along the way, the job started controlling your time, your schedule, your priorities, even your income potential. What if the expertise you've built over the years in the field can give you something more? More freedom, more control, more ownership of your future. I'm Sheldon Primus, the author of 7 Steps to Starting a Profitable Safety Consulting Business and the host of the Safety Consultant Podcast, with more than 350 episodes helping safety professionals become consultants and grow their career. Consulting changed my life. In fact, I'm a full-time RVer, and one consulting contract paid for my home I live in today. Now, I help safety professionals build their own consulting practice through bi-weekly coaching calls, accountability, and personal guidance. But this program isn't for everyone. Start with the Consultant Readiness Audit at sheldon.coach.
What if everything we thought we knew about safety was just interference? From the host of the Rated R Safety Show and the founder of Safety FM comes the complete Signal Transmission Trilogy, now available in one powerful edition. Safety, in my opinion, the book that started the conversation. Safety Mutation, where the boundaries of culture, systems, and belief begin to break. And now, Safety Transmission, the final piece of the signal. For the first time, all 3 books are together in one volume. The Signal Transmission Trilogy, Complete Edition. This isn't just about compliance. It's about consciousness. It's about decoding the way we think, lead, and live, inside and outside the system. Whether you've been following the signal since the beginning or you're just now tuning in, this is the version to own. Search Signal Trilogy on Amazon or visit safetyfm.com to get your copy now.
Hi, this is Jim from Safety Wars. Before we start the program, I want to make sure everyone understands that we often talk about OSHA and EPA citations, along with some other regulatory actions from other agencies, legal cases, and criminal activity. Everyone is innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Proposed fines are exactly that, and they are often litigated, reduced, or vacated. We use available public records, news accounts, and press releases. We cannot warranty or guarantee the details of any of the stories we share, since we are not directly involved with these stories, at least not most of the time. Enjoy the show.
This show is brought to you by Safety FM.
Almost hit the wrong button there. Maybe I did for a second. So what did you think about last night's program? Tell you what, a lot of people were very upset that I was talking about active shooters. But I'm going to recommend everybody go out and take that FEMA Independent Study course. The fact of the matter is this. Companies do not like to think about this stuff. You can't blame them. What are they in the business of? Making money. Right? That's a view of most companies out there. These ones I've run into. Safety, not so much. Now, I always hear this. Well, we're not a construction company. We're a safety company that does construction. It's like, freaking really? First, again, safety can only get me the 4th highest priority that you could do. That's why they say, well, it's a value, it's inherent in all this. Now, it's all this baloney. I'm going to call it baloney. Safety is, right, cannot be higher than the 4th. You hear Mike Rowe, and with all due respect to Mike Rowe, he says safety 3rd. I'd say safety 4th. You got to get the job, you got to do the job, you got to get paid for the job, then you worry about safety. Believe me, getting paid for the job is like, otherwise you're working for free, and who the hell wants to work for free? You'd be surprised. And of course, I get into a coughing fit right when I need to be talking. A lot of stuff happened here in the last 24 hours. So, now we'll start out with this one. The earthquake and tsunami. Millions were under tsunami advisories today after one of the strongest earthquakes ever recorded struck Russia, sending tsunami waves into Japan, Hawaii, and the U.S. West Coast. Authorities warned the risk from 8.8 magnitude quake could last for hours. And I'll point this out also. Aftershocks, right, may have something to do with this. No, then after that's a volcano started to erupt and everything. The wrath of God kind of stuff. Several people were injured, but none gravely, and no major damage has been reported. Well, let's face it, it happened off the coast of Russia in the Far East. Pacific area, Bering Sea area, that whole thing, Northern Pacific. And, the Kamchatka region. And again, there's like nothing out there. Just thought the people who've been there. I've known people have been there. There's nothing there. This is, that's pretty good because nobody got hurt. Not so, the population density, not so much over there. So I spoke to two people today. Now we're in Hawaii. One of them got, and she's offered to come on the program, or at least share her story with the program, where she was stuck in a 22-story high skyscraper hotel because everything got evacuated. Another one said, not too much damage, just a lot of flooding here. That's all. And there's been reports in Japan that whales ended up on shore, right? And here we have tourists were forced out of beachfront hotels in Hawaii, backing everything up in traffic, which is why I always say maybe a bicycle may be your best way of getting around here. I don't know. Millions of people were told to move away from the shore or seek higher ground. It's a mess. And like I said, aftershocks, I don't know how they're going to impact this, if they have any at all, right? If that's even relevant here. U.S. Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem said the worst was over. Later Wednesday, tsunami advisories for Hawaii, Alaska, and Oregon, Washington were canceled or remained in parts of Northern California, where authorities warned to stay away from beaches and advised that a dangerous current should be expected through Thursday morning. We'll see what happens here with this. I know back in 2011, was it, with the tsunami in Japan? The waves, right, because of all the water in the world is connected, and right on the ocean, right, they actually had like a little wave that they were able to measure a certain number of hours after that tsunami on the Jersey Shore. So, anyway, this is from Singapore. The 8 we got to do some more stories from Singapore, right? Safety stories because of MOM, right? Ministry of Manpower. That's their safety agency. The 8.8 magnitude quake off Russia that triggered the tsunami warnings across the Pacific occurred in what is known as a megathrust fault, where the denser Pacific plate is sliding underneath the lighter North American plate. The Pacific plate has been on the move, making Kamchatka Peninsula area off Russia's far east coast, where it's struck, especially vulnerable to such tremors, and bigger aftershocks cannot be ruled out. And I don't know. We'll see what happens here. Hope, if you're impacted by that, I hope you get through that. And here we have breaking news. This is some... I don't know. Can I share this screen? Maybe, maybe not. Hold on. Here we have whales. Now, hopefully you're seeing that at home. Actually have whales being washed up. Pretty incredible, right? What a sight to see. Hopefully they got the whales out. Hopefully we won't need Captain Kirk to rescue the whales again. Here's another one. Oprah opens Maui Road to help residents flee after the tsunami warning. The billionaire media mogul opened up a road on her property, giving people route to evacuate from coastal areas to higher ground, Hawaii officials said. Oprah Winfrey opened a private road on a property she owns in Maui to help residents evacuate after the tsunami warning. Miss Winfrey, the billionaire media mogul, has renovated a ranch on the slopes of Mount Halakala, a dormant volcano, and owns a road that runs from a coastal area in the southwest part of the island to higher ground. Oprah's road is open to get to upcountry, Maui County officials said in a statement on Tuesday, citing the Maui Police Department. A spokesman for Miss Winfrey, Nicole Nichols, said in an email that law enforcement and FEMA had been contacted to ensure the road was open. Local law enforcement are currently on site helping residents through 50 cars at a time to ensure for everyone's safety. Well, thank you, Oprah. That was very, that's good. Community helping each other there, right? And what else we got here on I opened up like a whole bunch of stories here. Now, big news with the EPA here. Basically that climate change stuff and everything that we've been talking about since about 1986 is under threat of being eliminated here with this. And we have a couple of videos here. Let's see if we can get the videos to play. EPA releases proposal to rescind Obama-era endangerment finding.
If finalized, today's announcement would amount to the largest deregulatory action in the history of the United States. We want to hear from the American public to finalize a regulation that not only proposes to rescind the endangerment finding, but all greenhouse gas emissions that followed on light, medium, and heavy-duty vehicles. It is important for us to understand that what the EPA did was many mental leaps in trying to creatively interpret Section 202 of the Clean Air Act. And for the first time ever, the EPA, in an effort to combat global climate change, end up deciding to reach this endangerment finding and then put forward trillions of dollars of regulations that hit mobile sources, stationary sources, airplanes. President Trump, he called me about a week ago to talk about tailpipe emissions. He was talking about the American auto industry. He was talking about American auto companies and wanting us to do our part to apply that common sense and to be cognizant of what that Trump mandate means. But we also have been focusing on the little things, because not just doing big things is what the American public demands of us, but also doing the small things to fix everything.
That was Secretary Zeldin, the head of the EPA. Administrator Zeldin, I'm sorry. The head of the EPA. So that was from the courtesy of the EPA. Right? So here we have... Where is the EPA? Hold on. Forgive me on here. Here we go. EPA. In case you missed it, ICYMI. EPA launches the largest deregulatory action in United States history with proposal to rescind Obama-era endangerment finding. Yesterday in Indianapolis, U.S. EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin released the agency's proposal to rescind the 2009 endangerment finding, which has been used to justify over $1 trillion in regulations, including the Biden-Harris administration's electric vehicle mandate. If finalized, the proposal would repeal all greenhouse gas standards for light, medium, and heavy-duty vehicles and heavy-duty engines, thereby reinstating customer choice while decreasing the cost of living on all products that trucks deliver. It would also mark one of the largest deregulatory actions in American history. The endangerment finding is the legal prerequisite used by the Obama and Biden administrations to regulate emissions from new motor vehicles and new motor vehicle engines. Absent this finding, EPA would lack statutory authority under Section 202A of the Clean Air Act to prescribe standards for greenhouse gas emissions. This proposal, if finalized, is expected to save Americans $54 billion in costs annually through repeal of all greenhouse gas standards, including Biden EPA's electric vehicle mandate under conservative economic forecasts. So here we go. Some of the headlines here. Hoosier Ag Today. EPA Administrator Zeldin visits Indianapolis to plan repealing electric vehicle mandates. Tampa Free Press. Buckle up, America. EPA acts as Obama-era climate rule, paving the way for cheaper cars. Miranda Devine for the New York Post. Trump rolling back $1 trillion of Dem Green car regulations. Wall Street Journal. Climate Regulation Liberation Day. National Post, New York Post editorial board. Axing EPA's endangerment BS will unleash a new era of U.S. prosperity. And it goes on and on and on. And it's amazing that they only talk about that, right? From the other side, right? Let's see here. Right? So that's one side of the argument. Here's the other side of the argument. Boom, boom, boom. Hold on. From the New York Times. In game-changing climate rollback, EPA aims to kill a bedrock scientific finding. All right. Now, let's talk about this a little bit. Of course, right. How long have I been involved in observing this whole climate debate? Since about 1986. And we talked about, right, and I was a believer until about 1992, when I started to learn about how to evaluate this stuff. And I took a class in 1992, spring of 1992, where I went to college, undergrad, and the professor, who, believe me, definitely not a Trump supporter today, definitely not a conservative by any measure in the imagination, but this is when colleges said, look, you got to decide for yourself, and they tried to teach you how to think. And she went through how to evaluate scientific research articles. And one of the things that stuck out to me was she didn't tell us how to think, or I'm sorry, what to think, but maybe how to think, a methodology, how to organize your thoughts. Her whole thing, name was Alice Skitchell, she said, look, who's funding this? Who's paying for this? What's their point of view? And everything else. Even in 1992, people were talking about this because in 1990, the Clean Air Act was passed as a re-election ploy for George H.W. Bush, right, when he was running for re-election. That's when you had the Rio de Janeiro in 92, I believe it was April or May of 92, you had it, Rio de Janeiro Conference on Sustainability and all this other stuff. Now, what happened was, and I ended up going to graduate school and studying the history of this whole debate. And I came across what was called the public choice theory. Under public choice, whoever's paying for stuff, that's who their point of view is going to be, basically. That's one of the many things. It's one of the main thrusts of that. All right, of that whole thing. We had a whole program on this a long time ago. Maybe I'll dig that up. So when I did my master's project, right, we went into the history of this, and this is essentially what happened. Back in the 80s, you needed money for, researchers were looking for money for computers. Information, remember, computer revolution, 1980s. At the same time, meteorologists and climate scientists were looking for all different types of stuff on getting grants and everything. They teamed up. They realized that in 87, Al Gore, who was the senator, was running for president, wanted to go and cleared up all this money available, grants and everything. So they got together, they started researching. And they realized that once they started yapping, they'd be able to get more money. And if they played for the senators, they played for whoever was doing the funding in the House of Representatives, the presidency, they would get more money. And thus, a lot of stuff came up where we're going to do this, we're going to do that. It wasn't until, I believe it was Julian Assange, released a whole bunch of emails and did what he did, that a lot of emails came out for research. Well, we can't describe it this way because we're going to lose credibility. We got to promote this, promote that. We're going to, and things of that nature. Once money got involved, everything got very corrupt. And then it happened on the other end with the oil companies, and a lot of the oil, you could go and research it, where they were promoting their point of view. And all this came into it. And what conclusions, right? Again, all this knowledge is great, but what conclusions? Number one, money is involved, and there's money to be made in this movement. On all sides of it. Number one. Number two, as I found out, climate is always changing. Probably on a micro level from pollution and everything. Yeah, again, and believe me, I believe in clean air and clean water and everything else. Limiting pollution. But the reason why you do things counts. So what ended up happening, the climate's going to change anyway. If you are going to go and implement all of these climate strategies under Kyoto Protocol, under everything else, you're only going to reduce the rate of warming by like 1.5 to 2 degrees Celsius, according to some computer models. Right? Some computer models is going to be like 3 or 4, whatever the number is. But you're only doing all of this stuff at the cost of trillions of dollars. And believe me, there's a human cost to this also. You're not only going to gain like a degree and a half, something along those lines. And the cost and benefit do not balance each other on any of this. That's the conclusion I had. It doesn't make sense. I think you'd be much better off. We would be much better off if we put, again, pollution control. Nobody wants pollution. But the number one. Number two is if we sort of prepare for climate change. Right? Sea levels have been rising for an awfully long time. If that's what our belief is, then guess what? We're going to go and let's mitigate the seashore, the shorelines with that. If you believe that the storms are going to be worse, guess what? Money could be spent in making cities safer and things of that nature. So rather than trying to mitigate the climate, maybe we should be putting the money into preparing for this climate change that's going to happen no matter what. And I think we're better off on that. I know that's controversial. I don't have these wonderful big graphs and everything else, big research teams and everything else along with it. But there are groups out there. Bjorn Lomborg came out with a classic book over 20 years ago that detailed this. And I think it's pretty relevant today also on all of this stuff where it's cost-benefit analysis, where you have a limited amount of funds, you can't keep printing money. Where are we going to put that money? Into climate mitigation strategies, or are we going to put that money into emergency response, land use planning, and everything else? Because I see that seems to be one of the biggest issues as what land use planning. So, for example, we have major storms in Texas. Well, where do they build all these camps for the children? All the camps and all this other infrastructure right in the floodplain. Come on. Jersey Shore, after World War II. All these towns, what do? They built up all the towns around the Jersey Shore. Right? And for years, we saw the same 3 houses getting destroyed by... Why would you? You're worried about sea level rise? Why are we building this stuff? And on this, right? And the other thing is this. If you're promoting all of this stuff, environmentalism and everything else, why are you going out and buying all those houses on Martha's Vineyard and all that real estate on Martha's Vineyard and other places that are going to be allegedly impacted the worst by climate change? We have the Aleutian Island folks and the Inuit peoples of Alaska. Perhaps it would be right, we could put money, all of these trillions of dollars we're going to be spending on all this emissions control and all these other anti-pollution things. Maybe we can put it into to help those people out and trying to manage what their situation is in the face of climate change here. Maybe that's money that's better spent there than in emissions that are not really going to slow the rate of warming, but not really mitigate the warming and cancel out and abate the warming. That's my opinion. It's always been my opinion, going way back. The other thing is this: we need truth in the research, right? So I have. What exactly is the endangerment finding here that they were talking about rescinding? Right, blah, blah, blah. So, I tell you what, let's go. Let me get this set up, and we will go to commercial break here.
Safety Wars is streaming now.
Oh, and before I forget, right before we go to commercial break, remember who's promoting this stuff. It's our competitors in the world economy. China, India, Europe. All of our competitors are... So if you had a competitor, you're playing a soccer game, are you going to take the advice of your competitors? I wouldn't. If you have enemies at work who don't, right, and you have competitors at work, are you going to listen to them for career advice? I don't think that would be smart. Why are we doing it here with this stuff?
From the front lines of the safety war, it's Safety Wars, with your host, Jim Posel on Safety FM. Get ready to face the harsh reality.
In the professional safety community, communication and planning are just a few keys to your program's success. The question many practitioners have is, where do I start? Dr. Jay Allen, the creator of the Safety FM platform and host of the Rated R Safety Show, has built a global foundation to help you along the way. Go to safetyfm.com and listen to some of the industry's best and most involved professionals, including Blaine Hoffman with the Safety Pro, Sam Goodman with the Hop Nerd, Sheldon Primus with the Safety Consultant, Jim Posel with Safety Wars, Emily Elrod with Unapologetically Bold, and many others. As individuals, we can do great things, but as a team, we become amazing. Dial into safetyfm.com today and surround yourself with a powerful force of knowledge and support.
OSHA recordables, catastrophic losses, environmental disasters. You want answers? So do I. This is Jim Posel with Safety Wars.
That's my daddy!
So what exactly is this thing that they're rescinding, the endangerment finding? So it was issued during the Obama administration, December 9, 2009. Legal basis was 202A of the Clean Air Act. Administrator Lisa P. Jackson. I'll say this much, rumored to be the ghostwriter of Earth in the Balance. Right? I know some people who knew her personally about 30 years ago, and when the Earth in the Balance came out, and they said that she was the one who ghostwrote it. I don't know if that's true or not. But anyway, the finding consists of two determinations. Right? So basically, there was in 2009 EPA endangerment finding is a formal determination by the U.S. EPA that greenhouse gases pose a threat to public health and welfare, that emissions from new motor vehicles contribute to that pollution. The finding consists of two determinations. 6 greenhouse gases, CO2, CH4, N2O, HFCs, PFCs, and sulfur SF6. I guess it's sulfur, I don't know. Right? Collectively endanger the public health and welfare of current and future generations. These gases contribute to climate change, which can lead to extreme weather, sea level rise, air quality degradation, threats to food and water security. So what I'm just saying, when I summarize, this is what we should have been worried about, mitigating all of these things. It would have been cheaper, would have been more effective because they're only slowing down the rate of warming, even though proponents of these policies will say that, not actually stopping it. Emissions of these greenhouse gases from new motor vehicles and engines contribute to the greenhouse gas pollution that endangers public health and welfare. Why it matters. This finding was not a regulation, but it was a legal prerequisite for regulating greenhouse gas emissions from vehicles and other sources under the Clean Air Act. It laid the foundation for subsequent EPA rules, including the Clean Power Plan, vehicle fuel efficiency standards, greenhouse gas performance standards for power plants. What was the context? Prompted by the 2007 Supreme Court decision, Massachusetts versus the EPA, which ruled that EPA must determine whether greenhouse gases are pollutants that endanger public health or welfare. Finding has withstood multiple legal challenges. The impact. It enabled the U.S. government to take regulatory action on climate change even without new legislation, and it remains a cornerstone of federal climate policy and a target in political debates over environmental regulation. So that's basically it, right? With that. So if you don't like the 2007 climate change, this decision, legal decision, you go back to the 1998 Clean Air Act, and who was the one who signed that? Because he was running for re-election in a couple of years, and he wanted to get re-elected, and that's to be the quote-unquote, I heard this from time immemorial in 1992, the environmental president. It was the Republican George H.W. Bush. So, again, what's this doing? It's just saying, look, it's not a pollutant. These 6 things are not pollutants. That's essentially it. Again, at a cost of $1 trillion in regulations, right? $1 trillion. It's a lot of money, folks. A lot of money to be taken out of the economy here. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Now let's talk about safety. We're going to again play a video from the Chemical Safety Board here. It's actually, again, I think I'm promoting them a little bit. Some people don't like that. Why am I promoting? Why are you promoting Chemical Safety? Well, I think that they do pretty good work, and that's one of the things that we need to promote is that they do not do what OSHA does. They do what they do. which is
The
investigating
U.S. Chemical
accidents
Safety
at a very
Board
high
is an
level.
independent, non-regulatory agency created by Congress that investigates catastrophic chemical incidents and makes recommendations to prevent similar events from occurring. Over its 27-year history, the CSB has deployed to nearly 180 major chemical incidents. Those incidents have involved more than 200 fatalities, over 1,300 serious injuries, and billions of dollars in damage to property and the environment. The incidents have also harmed communities and caused significant business disruptions, including job losses and reduced earnings for the American chemical industry.
There's a saying among safety experts that if you think safety is expensive, try having an accident. Chemical incidents are always costly, but several of the recent incidents investigated by the CSB have resulted in incredible economic losses for chemical companies and local businesses, caused deaths and serious injuries, and put nearby communities and workers at serious risk.
For instance, on January 24, 2020, an accidental release of propylene accumulated and exploded inside a building at the Watson grinding facility in Houston, Texas. The massive explosion fatally injured 2 employees and a member of the public who lived nearby. Hundreds of neighboring structures were damaged, including homes and several businesses. As a result of the incident, Watson Grinding filed for bankruptcy, and the company is no longer in business. Approximately $90 million in settlements and judgment amounts have been awarded to victims and nearby residents impacted by the explosion. On November 27, 2019, major explosions and fires occurred at the TPC Group chemical plant in Port Neches, Texas, when a piping section ruptured, releasing highly flammable butadiene that quickly ignited. The resulting pressure wave destroyed parts of the facility and injured 2 TPC employees and a security contractor. Residents living within 4 miles of the plant were ordered to evacuate, and the blast reportedly was felt up to 30 miles away. The incident caused $450 million in on-site property damage and $153 million in damage to nearby homes and businesses. The explosion also led to reduced usage of the Sabine Neches waterway, the nation's 3rd largest waterway by cargo volume and a major economic driver in the United States. On June 21, 2019, a large vapor cloud ignited at the Philadelphia Energy Solutions refinery in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, causing an enormous fire and multiple explosions. The explosions caused the release of over 5,000 pounds of highly toxic hydrofluoric acid that potentially threatened the surrounding community. Additionally, a huge metal fragment weighing approximately 38,000 pounds flew completely across the Schuylkill River, and other large fragments landed in the refinery. The incident caused an estimated $750 million in property damage and ultimately led to the refinery's permanent closure and the loss of more than 1,000 jobs. And on April 26, 2018, a massive explosion at the Husky refinery in Superior, Wisconsin, sent metal debris flying through the air. One metal fragment punctured a nearby asphalt storage tank, allowing 17,000 barrels of hot asphalt to spill from the tank and ignite, causing multiple fires. Roughly 39,000 pounds of flammable hydrocarbon vapor were released into the air. 36 people were injured by the incident, and there was over $550 million of property damage at the facility. More than 2,500 residents of Superior were evacuated from their homes. The CSB found that these incidents all had one thing in common: they were completely preventable. In response to the many incidents investigated by the CSB, the agency has issued over 1,000 safety recommendations to make the chemical industry safer while maintaining economic productivity, protecting jobs, and keeping workers and communities safe.
Strong safety programs are critical for the economic success of our nation's chemical industry and for the health and safety of the people who work in chemical facilities and those who live near them. If the CSB's many safety lessons have prevented at least one catastrophic chemical incident, the money saved by protecting lives, preventing serious injuries and damage to facilities, safeguarding surrounding communities, and avoiding costly litigation and legal settlements far exceeds the CSB's modest annual budget. The CSB more than pays for itself in costs saved by preventing serious chemical incidents.
So, as I understand the discussion, right, and that's for the next video, right? As I understand it, right, and I'm going to advocate, I'll advocate for them. The argument goes that we need to get rid of the CSB, Chemical Safety Board, because OSHA already does stuff like this, right? Now, let me point out, OSHA, I'm not defaming OSHA or anything like that. There's good people there; they do a lot of good work. Right there, right? They're underfunded like all these organizations. The CSB does things at a very high level. They take a long time to do this. And by the way, their reports are not legally admissible in court. That's one of the things. So OSHA does a finding, like we did a year with New Mexico OSHA, the Rust shooting with Alec Baldwin. Right? It has 6 months to do the investigation and to issue fines and everything else. Now we have a different focus at OSHA with the new administration of compliance and system, and even with the compliance enforcement. It's interested in enforcing OSHA regulations. They're not, my understanding is that they don't have the technical ability that the CSB has to investigate all of this stuff. And what happens is it helps companies design, and other companies go out there to fix and design new processes, gives in-depth things, deep dives. Now, a lot of people say, well, we're going to let it towards the company to do all the engineering, to do this, to do that, to do blah, 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 blah. Guess what? They're not going to do that. And these, they're not going to do it. So, for example, they describe one accident there that I am a little bit familiar with because I used to work for a company that did pipeline repair. And what happened was a pipeline was not repaired because of its placement, its design, and everything else, and then it eventually ruptured. Right? So what it comes down to is this. Other companies can learn that. The companies I deal with that work with pipeline repair learn something from that incident. OSHA probably would not have had that impact on that. And I'm not defaming OSHA. I know they had a role in that accident in the investigation and everything else. But deep dives, learning the technical stuff. Imagine if you're a safety professional. The advantage of this program and some of the other programs out there, we try to go into detail. So now you could go and say, well, no, I see that guy in a red Safety Wars shirt out there, and we're going to go and he mentioned the CSV and a pipeline rupture. Let's go and look that up. What was that? How does that impact us? And now you're able to take those reports to your management and say, look, this is what happened to this facility. We don't want that to happen at our facility. You can use these reports. These reports are very useful. CSV just came out with volume 3 of their reports, which gives summaries of historical reports up until earlier this year. All this stuff is out there and available to help your company work safely and to help make the argument for safety. So I encourage you to all go out there and support. Again, this is one of the agencies that should not be cut, is the CSB. Now, today was a federal commemoration holiday or something. It is called Whistleblower Day. Did you ever hear that, Whistleblower Day? And where there were right, what is the Whistleblower Protection Program? So the Whistleblower Protection Program, believe it or not, a lot of this stuff is managed by OSHA. So OSHA's Whistleblower Protection Program enforces protections for employees who suffer retaliation for engaging in protected activities under more than 20 federal laws. The investigation of complaints of retaliation against employees is conducted by investigators in OSHA's regions. OSHA investigators are neutral fact finders, do not work for either the complainant or the respondent, meaning the employer. The U.S. Equal Opportunity Employment Commission, EEOC, enforces laws that prohibit discrimination against employees because of race, color, religion, sex, including pregnancy, national origin, age, 40 or over, that's me, disability or genetic information, and retaliation against employees for opposing such discrimination. The Wage and Hour Division of the U.S. Department of Labor enforces federal laws on federal minimum wages. And going on, and National Labor Relations Board gets thrown in there. Now, what is incredible here is the history of whistleblowing. All right, for whistleblowers. So, here you go. Again, if you're a 10-hour course person, right, teaching this, right, it's supposed to be in the first hour normally of this. This is right. This is all in there. So I saw here. Hold on. How to file complaint, find out other information. I'm sorry. I'm supposed to do a share screen on here. So, here I now. It's an interesting history here, right? So let me go to this. Let me Google the history of whistleblowers in the U.S. Whistleblowers are individuals that have come forward to disclose critical information about wrongdoings and frauds. It was in 1863, Abraham Lincoln enacted the False Claims Act. Under this act, whistleblowers may receive rewards for exposing wrongdoings in the form of a percentage of the total sum recovered through their efforts. In 2006, a new whistleblower law was enacted to enable individuals to expose tax frauds, including underpayments and other violations of the Internal Revenue Law. A little secret there. Under that law, if you report someone for a tax fraud, they audit you. Right, first. The False Claims Act applies to whistleblowers reporting the illicit use of federal funds in areas like Medicare fraud, government contractor fraud, and environmental fraud. So the timeline is here. In 1777, there were America's first whistleblowers, Samuel Shaw and Richard Marvin. They were naval officers, right? 1777, that's before the current, for the country, really. Well, 1776, signing the Declaration of Independence, and then, 1789 was under the current Constitution. We were formed, right? So depending on how you want to count here. Part of a small group of men who had witnessed their commanding officer torture British prisoners of war reported their leader for his actions, but in common with modern whistleblowers for reporting the misconduct of the Navy's highest officer, Shaw and Marvin were both dismissed from the Navy. The commanding officer also filed a criminal libel suit against the two men that led them to being placed in jail, awaiting the outcome of the lawsuit. Shaw and Marvin asked Congress for help, explaining that they had been arrested for doing what they believed to be their duty. Appalled, the Continental Congress then enacted in 1778 the nation's first whistleblower protection law. By unanimous consent, authorized money to defend the two men and ordered Hopkins to be fired. The two men, Shaw and Marvin, won the lawsuit. And then you had Ernest Fitzgerald in 1968, reported a $2.3 billion cost overrun in the Lockheed C-5 transport aircraft. Right? Again, long history here, right? Karen Silkwood was another one. right? Whistleblower. Linda Tripp, another one in 96. Cynthia Cooper, who may sound familiar. Going on. So we have an Edward Snowden down in 2013. All right, all this stuff in the Whistleblower Act. Now, I spoke to a federal employee today who said, well, under this administration, who knows, where this is going to go with this. And do they actually have whistleblower? So, again, after the whole thing going on now with the Russia collusion and Russian interference case now being referred over to the DOJ over the last couple of weeks, I don't think anybody has the monopoly on going after whistleblowers here or anything with a whistleblower complaint here. I mean, if those allegations are correct, there's people in the government that were doing really effed up stuff. I'm sorry. And again, you have a right under OSHA, right, to report your employer if they retaliate against you within certain thresholds and time limits for reporting unsafe hazards, right, here. Unsafe workplaces and things of that nature. That's all included in the OSHA outreach courses, but again, it's glossed over because often, so for example, if I'm guilty of this, right, I mention it. However, and when I'm teaching the courses, no matter what, because you have to mention it, it's part of the curriculum. However, if you're in a college or university setting, these students are paying themselves or the college is paying you or however it is, you're working with let's say, an at-risk community, I have a tendency of going into this in a little bit more in depth with this. That's the way it is. Why? Because people get retaliated against for reporting unsafe workplaces. So let's go into some of the other news here. There's a lot of news. I mean, I could be here literally for 2 or 3 hours. I keep wanting to do that. I wanted to do that last night, but it was like, you get exhausted, right? This is from the Associated Press. The Trump administration announced and launching a new program that will allow Americans to share personal health data and medical records across health systems and apps run by private tech companies, promising it will make it easier to access health records and monitor wellness. Tell you what, even if you get blood work at one company and you go to your regular doctor, sometimes it's a problem getting that data. I tell you what. So, more than 60 companies have agreed to share patient data in the system. The initiative will focus on diabetes and weight management, controversial artificial intelligence that helps patients, and digital tools such as QR codes and apps that registers patients for check-ins or tracked medications. Again, this is a quote from the president. For decades, America's healthcare networks have been overdue for a high-tech upgrade. Yeah, I think so. I mean, a lot of places you can't even email stuff. It has to be faxed. Here we have in South Carolina nuclear facility, radioactive wasps. Just when you thought got rid of the murder wasps, now we have radioactive wasps. A terrifying discovery was made at a nuclear facility in South Carolina. Radioactive wasps. Radiological control operations found a wasp nest on a post close to a tank at the Savannah River site in Aiken. According to the report from the U.S. Department of Energy, the nest was sprayed to kill the wasps and bagged as radiological waste. After probing the nest, they found it was at 100,000 DPM, a moderately high level of radiation. Let's see what the Department of Energy has said. Here we have a link. And they have here, let's see, this is the link that they gave us here. Description of occurrence. Radiological control operation discovered a wasp nest on stanchion near 241 blah blah blah, adjacent to tank 7 in a controlled area. The wasp nest was sprayed to kill the wasps. RCO probed the nest and discovered it was probing 100 DPM, right? Per 100 centimeters squared beta and gamma radiation. This contamination is greater than 10 times the total contamination values allowed. The wasp nest is considered an on-site legacy radioactive contamination not related to a loss of contamination control. The delay in reporting was to allow time for the reviewing process previous wildlife contamination for consistency in reporting criteria. No further action. All right. Does that now DPM? What is DPM? It's 100,000 disintegrations per minute. That is DPM. With that, that's it. Now, here's another one. I mean, my kids love summer camp, right? But here we have adult summer camps. Really? I guess people are looking for a connection, and if this is how they feel they need to get it, then that's fine. Summer camp isn't only for kids is from CBSNews.com. Yelp reports a nearly 358% increase in searches for adult summer camps this year as people search for community and nostalgia. I read about this a couple years ago, but apparently it's gotten more and more popular. What's really cool is that all the activities are planned for you. At Club Getaway in Kent, Connecticut, campers 21 and older come together for every weekend to meet new friends and be a kid again. I did overnight camps when I was younger, and I remember going out onto the water, going rock climbing, but why do that? Why not do that with some alcohol? Ooh. Open to children during the week, Club Getaway, so welcoming adults for 50 years. I think people come here for an experience. They want to meet new people. They want to try different things, feel part of a community. I mean, I've heard of this, except in a different context. Here in a, how can I say this? What kind of context was it? That kind of context. Shameful. We're coming up with some new promos you're going to like here. Virginia... lawmaker doused with gas and set on fire at a magazine where he works by man in personal attack. Well, I think setting you on fire is a personal attack. I don't think you can get much more personal. A Virginia lawmaker was doused with gasoline and set alight at his office in a personal attack by an unhinged local man. Hayes dumped the contents of a 5-gallon container on top of Volger before setting him alight. He has now been charged with attempted first-degree murder and aggravated malicious wounding. What is going on with this guy? No details have been shared on the alleged personal matter between Volger and this other person. Investigators have yet to on this. So apparently the man is also got a going through a divorce who did this. Tell you what, I hope that the the victim makes a complete and total recovery on this one. Right? So apparently he's a local lawmaker. So we'll end with this one. This is a little bit, shameful. This is from the US Sun .com. the-sun.com. Sex foes. Major sex toy leak reveals shoppers who bought them and even personal emails as company scrambles to fix the bug. Right. The app is also used to find like-minded thrill seekers, according to the company. Came under fire in 2017 for minor bug. I tell you what, if you're doing this kind of stuff, I'm not sharing the screen because it's like way over the top here. If you're doing this kind of stuff, you're doing it online or anything online. Remember, computer security is an oxymoron. There is no such thing. If it's in a computer somewhere, it's findable, it's discoverable. And, and if you're doing things shameful, shame on you. Here's one more. As financial woes mount, colleges are starting to cut majors. Degrees are being eliminated or scaled back at Boston University, Clark, It's from cararchive.is. Leslie and Berklee College of Music in dismay. In an era of higher education marked by cost-cutting and layoffs, some Massachusetts colleges are taking a dramatic step, eliminating entire academic programs. So, what are they shuttering? Boston University will be shuttering satellite programs in social work at several of their satellite writing master's program at Lesley University in Cambridge. Ancient civilization and studio art at Clark University. It seems like you're on like the 6-year program with some of these degrees that I just called out, because what are you going to do? Right, you're going to get this degree, and then all of a sudden, if you're not in for a master's or PhD, it's going to be very difficult to find a gainful employment. I'm sorry. Again, that's us being blunt. And Rhode Island College of Providence suspended 20 degrees, such as gender studies and modern languages, that project to 6 or fewer students each year. That's the other thing. Nobody's really taking this stuff. So that's what I got for tonight. We'll see you tomorrow, God willing. And I don't know. Maybe we'll talk about OSHA stuff. Yeah, there's a lot out there. For Safety Wars, this is Jim Posel. Oh. Yes, clown music.
Safety Wars is...
The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the host and its guest and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the company. Examples of analysis discussed within this podcast are only examples. They should not be utilized in the real world as the only solution available, as they are based only on very limited and dated open source information. Assumptions made within this analysis are not reflective of the position of the company. No part of this podcast may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means, mechanical, electronic, recording, or otherwise, without prior written permission of the creator of the podcast, Jay Allen.
You got into the safety business because you wanted to protect people, but somewhere along the way, the job started controlling your time, your schedule, your priorities, even your income potential. What if the expertise you've built over the years in the field can give you something more? More freedom, more control, more ownership of your future. I'm Sheldon Primus, the author of 7 Steps to Starting a Profitable Safety Consulting Business and the host of the Safety Consultant Podcast, with more than 350 episodes helping safety professionals become consultants and grow their career. Consulting changed my life. In fact, I'm a full-time RVer, and 1 consulting contract paid for my home I live in today. Now, I help safety professionals build their own consulting practice through bi-weekly coaching calls, accountability, and personal guidance. But this program isn't for everyone. Start with the Consultant Readiness Audit at sheldon.coach.
What if everything we thought we knew about safety was just interference? From the host of the Rated R Safety Show and the founder of Safety FM comes the complete signal transmission trilogy, now available in one powerful edition. Safety, in my opinion. The book that started the conversation, Safety Mutation, where the boundaries of culture, systems, and belief begin to break. And now, Safety Transmission, the final piece of the signal. For the first time, all 3 books are together in one volume. The Signal Transmission Trilogy, Complete Edition. This isn't just about compliance. It's about consciousness. It's about decoding the way we think, lead, and live, inside and outside the system. Whether you've been following the signal since the beginning or you're just now tuning in, this is the version to own. Search Signal Trilogy on Amazon or visit safetyfm.com to get your copy now.